Hello and welcome to another theme build video from the Elachi bridge. Today I will be going over my theme builds for the 4 tier 6 Elachi ship that exists in the game. We have the Cheshire that comes from the promo pack, it's also sometimes available in mods, and it comes in two varieties, Intel and Command. We have the Sateth from the Infinity Lockbox, the Ornash from the Lobby store, and finally the Koolash that comes from the 2019 event, Mycelial Crisis. That gave out the ship and 8 Elachi weapon boxes. And that ship is also sometimes available in mods. I looked around to see if I could find any useful ground modules for an Elachi ground build, but all I could find was hand weapons, so that is not covered in this video. I will present the 4 ships and show them all in combat in the Argala system. But I edit it all together so you get to see all ships during just the one patrol. So let's take a look at the ships and what I'm using on them. So here we have the Cheshire, and on this one I have a bunch of beam arrays, Elachi beam arrays, 6 of those. We have the Elachi subspace torpedo launcher from the Low-Buy store. We have the Heavy Crescent wave cannon, also from the Low-Buy store. And those two, together with the bioneural infusion circuits, is a set piece. And then we have the Colony Deflector, the tactical competitive engines, and the 2-piece warp core and shield from the Discovery Reputation. We have a bit of deuterium for movement and speed, energy amplifiers, Kobayashi Maru, temporal negotiator, and reactive armor catalysts. And this ship is X upgraded, so I have an extra universal console slot where I put in extra locator, disruptor locators of course, so I have 5 of those. Then we have the Elachi consoles. The Cheshire Assault Craft basically splits the ship in 2. Bioneural as mentioned. The enhanced Elachi subspace transceiver, that is this button down here. Summon support craft. Monbush support craft. And we have the Elachi rift jump, which is basically a I'm in trouble, get me out of here kind of button. You face out and you get flight turn rate and flight speed, and when you face in you get 40% bonus all damage for 10 seconds. Then we have the green cone that you see from the Elachi ships, the enhanced crescent wave cannon. I'm not too impressed with the damage it puts out, but it's okay. And it's there for the set. And we have the M6 computer from the tier 3 temporal escort that you can buy for dilithium in the dilithium store. The domino from the Bajoran Raider, an old event, but it's also available in the Phoenix store. The hangar is then the Koolash frigate, which is a ship we're gonna look at later. For the traits, I'm using a good day to die, adaptive offense, team training, operative, intelligent agent attaché, the Boimler effect, Thrill Seeker, Unconventional Systems, Crippling Fire, and Fleet Coordinator. The Starship traits are then, we have the Emergency Weapon Cycle, we have an Elachi trait which is called Invasive Maneuvers. Basically gives you a kind of a mycelial jump when you use evasive maneuvers. Entwined Tactical Matrices, Overpowered and Overgunned. Another Elachi trait, when you take a lot of damage, you summon in a support craft that heals you a bit. It doesn't shoot much, but it's there to heal you. And finally we have the Best Diplomat, that gives more damage to Fire at Will, which is what I'm using. Fire at Will 3. Attack button beta 1, we have Chemosight, Torpedo Spread 1, and Cannon Scatter Volley. The Scatter Volley goes into Entwined Tactical Matrices, and also the engines that procs off of firing modes. there are 2 engineer seats, so I really didn't know what to put in here, so I took engineering team. It's a nice little heal. Emit unstable warp bubble. We have emergency power to weapons 3 and eject warp plasma. And then we have emergency power to engines. That couples with a duty officer, so it cools down my evasive maneuvers. And then we have the breakfast combination, as I call it, the jam targeting sensors and the scramble sensors. And finally, photonic officers. So on this I have 4 things that can proc unconventional systems. The jam and scramble, which is the breakfast combination. Unstable warp bubble and the warp plasma. And what that does is that it cools down the universal consoles, which I actually have quite a few of. And then on to the next ship. And here we have another larger ship, the Southeth Escort. Basically more or less the same setup, except we have gone for Elachi heavy crescent cannons. You can see there's more or less the same stuff here. And of course you had Elachi turrets in the back, and the experimental weapon we chose the Soliton wave impeller. Other than that, it's mostly the same consoles. And mostly the same traits, but of course we swapped 2 cannons here, so we are using cannon training and weathering barrage instead of the beam traits. And on the stations, a little bit difference. This has a universal seat here and there. They're both good for pilot, but I chose to use just 1 pilot ability. Emergency power to engines and the emit unstable warp bubble for the unconventional. And emergency power to weapons. I like this deploy countermeasure thing. It basically creates a decoy of your ship. And then we have attack pattern beta, chemosite, fire at will, torpedo spread 3 and cannon scatter volley 3. And again, a more or less useless engineering team. And a breakfast combination and photonic officer 2. On to the next ship. And here we are with the Ornash, the ship that shows up in one of the early Romulus missions as a mysterious ship. Again, more or less the same as the previous ship, so the consoles are basically the same. For this one I went with a bit of a difference, so I chose to go with the cannon rapid fire just for fun. So I have go for the kill from the legendary Jem'Hadar ship. So on the stations we have rapid fire right there. And the trait was a little bit changed out. I'm using the preferential targeting. When I'm using fire at will, it empowers my rapid fire. Other than that, more or less the same, but we instead have a tractor beam here that's also an unconventional proc. As you can see, this does not have the full commander tactical seating, so I'm using a duty officer called Vincent Kish. What he does, he can have the chance to up your firing modes from 1 and 2 to 2 and 3. On to the next ship. And finally we have the Elachi Kulash. You might recognize the ship because this is also the same ship that becomes the Elachi Walker. Unfortunately, this ship cannot do that. And on the weapons loadout and traits and all that kind of thing, it's more or less the same. We are using cannons on this one as well, together with all the Elachi consoles. This one is doing usual cannon scatter volley, again with withering barrage. And this has intel seating, so I chose to go with some unconventional procs there as well. And again, no full commander tactical seating. So we are again using Vincent Kish as on the previous ship. And that was all the 4 Elachi ships that I have. There also exist some tier 5 ones, but they are more or less the same ships we have seen, but less powerful. And now it's time, before we go into combat, to just advertise that I also stream StarTech Online over on Twitch. So you can join me there for some TFOs and random shenanigans. Other than that, you can of course like and subscribe to this channel. And until next time, live long and prosper.
Our fight got them to notice us. Let's go over and ask if their boss might come out of hiding. Keep concentrating fire on individual ships. Separate them and whittle down their numbers. We will not go quietly. Scum. Excellent work. We'll send over a pacification party and take the suspect into custody. Thank you for your assistance, and welcome to